Welcome all to the Tortillas and Takes podcast. You are on once again with your boy, I'll be sure, and good times, just fun times. Can we continue to play just awful teams for all 12 games? If you ask some opposing fans, they say we are playing awful teams for all 12 games, but that's okay. As we Texas Tech Red Raiders, another blowout, another fun time, and everybody had a great time unless you bet Texas Tech to cover a 48 and a half point spread. If you did, which actually when we were predicting it, not just myself, but also the other guy on the podcast, People Champ Jeremy Gillen, the spread at the time was 48 flat. So Jeremy and I, though we both said we would cover, we pushed, right? 48 flat. I think it went to 48 and a half right before kickoff for a lot of these betting a lot of these sports books. And so if you bet 48 and a half,
losers.
You really were pissed we kneeled. You must have been irate. We kneeled at like the 20 or whatever it was at the end of the game. But you also might have been irate about that weird fumble that led to a Kent State touchdown. But all in all, Texas Tech with the 62-14 win. Jeremy, say hello to the people and tell me your thoughts.
We are feeling good, 2-0. Yeah, never bet on college sports. That's such a crazy thing that's a crazy way to lose your money. Because the only time I ever hear, it seems like the majority, and this is betting in general, which I'm just vehemently against, but it seems like the majority of college betting experiences I hear or read on the internet are just how pissed people are that their favorite team or the team that they were betting on decided to do something in their best interest, which is usually like kneeling or like just kind of like mailing it like, hey, we're going to win this game. You're not going to win this game like this. Kick a field goal. It's like, oh my God, dude. You're up 62-14 on a team and suddenly you're just getting pissed off.
I'm trying to remember. There was a game, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, where where the runner was running out to the side, went in for a touchdown. To me, it still looked like a touchdown, right? But they called it a touchdown. They went to replay. Come to find out, his elbow like hit the ground centimeters before the end zone. So they were like, "Oh, we're gonna bring it back." But mind you, the team was like, "Well, game's over. We just needed the first one down to win. We actually didn't even need the touchdown." So on the 1 centimeter line, they were like, let's nail it out and go home. And they did not cover solely because of such a bad beat. That beat, Jeremy, your knowledge is, when you're about to, you like the unimaginable happens when it comes to sports betting, right? So in that scenario, running back scores, the touchdown was called. Boom.
You are so excited.
And then instead, they call it back, and you're like, okay, but we're on the 1 centimeter line. Just like, let's just get this touchdown real quick.
Push, you're right there.
And instead, they're like, we're good. We're going to kneel it out. We don't need to do this. You're like, no, please.
Quickly looking up how to contact your coach as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Message on X. Oh, my God.
A buddy of mine actually was betting that game and actually did not bet them to cover. And was like, oh, thank God. He was like, yes.
That's a huge relief.
Yeah, kneel it out.
You're going to win.
Let's go. Kneel it out. Yeah, I actually agree with you. I'm not the biggest. I care too much about my money to necessarily sports bet. I'm not against it. I'm against it for me personally. But that being said, that would make me irate. And even the times that I do sports bet, I do try to avoid college because college is just weird and funky. The lines are weird and funky. 48-point line is pretty egregious. So the fact that you would watch this game 62-14 and you're like, no, please kick a field goal. Please beat them 65-14, right? Lines are too much. NFL, I'm more likely to just be if I am going to bet just because the lines aren't usually that bad. Like a 21-point line in the NFL is egregious. Like that's crazy. Usually the lines are even a 14-point line in the NFL is pretty crazy. Lines in the NFL are a little bit more closer. So I'm like, all right, I can take with this one. But all in all, Texas Tech beating the hell out of Kent State. And I mean, so we're going to talk about the game here in a second. I do think it's interesting because we just played one of the worst teams in FCS in Arkansas Prime. Now we go to play one of the worst teams in the FBS in Kent State. For some people, including myself, I think they might be the worst team in FBS. Like, it will not shock me if at the end of the season they're 1-11. Right. Next week we play Oregon State, and I know there's not a Power 5 conference anymore. If Pac-12 was still a Power 5 conference, they would be considered one of the worst teams in the Power 5. Yeah. So we are just working our way up to one of the worst. Unfortunately, we do not play Oklahoma State the following week, which would be one of the worst teams in the Big 12. That'd be our way to really – we go from one of the worst to one of the best in Utah right after that, right? Like, some people are calling the Utah game a potential Big 12 championship preview. So very, very interesting in that rev up, but I'm so glad it's happening. Overall, right? Listen, one of the things I really love seeing this weekend, even more than the win, I saw people from opposing teams complain about how easy our schedule is. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, you're already complaining about how great you think we're going to be. This is amazing. You already have preloaded excuses. This is great. We're new to this. In football, we haven't seen this since the 2000s, right? Where you're already making excuses for why Texas Tech is going to have a good record. I love it. I love it.
This is totally uncharted territory. Absolutely. I saw it as well. I think the guy was complaining about, at least the most popular tweet I think I've seen is, Texas Tech is going to go undefeated and just walk into the college football playoff, and it's because they got such a crap schedule. I'm like, hell yeah. Awesome. Because guess what? We're there. So I don't care how we got there. It's awesome. I'll take it.
It's kind of like Indiana last year, right? Indiana last year, by the time they got into the college football playoff, everybody was like, man, their schedule is they're not that good. Their schedule was awful. They avoided all these teams. And Indiana fans were like, you're damn right. Hell yeah. We in here.
That's right.
That's my advice to fellow Tech fans. Don't argue, appreciate it. Be like, right. Oh man, thank you for thinking our schedule is easy. I also hope our schedule is very easy. All right, it don't matter how I'm very secure with myself to know that I don't need to know how good our team is until the college football playoff. If you tell me, if we get to the college football playoff and you're like, yeah, I still don't know how good Texas Tech is, so if we're undefeated, we'll find out in the college football playoff. That is fine. If I go the whole year not knowing just how good the team is, I like to find out then. I'll figure that out.
We'll figure it out. No big deal.
We'll figure it out then, right? If we're the Big 12 championship, I still don't know how good Texas Tech is. We'll find out here in Arlington. We'll find it out. We'll see. We'll see what's up. I want to be like Indiana last year. Or like SMU. SMU the same way. Everybody was, me included. I was like, SMU is not very good, right? They've won one game because the ACC, they've avoided the only good team in the ACC, which was Clemson, and they beat up everybody else. They're not a good team. And SMU fans were like, we don't care. We are in the ACC championship game. Got in. They still lost the ACC championship game and still made the college football playoff. And they're like, joke's on you, BYU, Alabama, and Ole Miss. How you can hate from outside the club? You can't even get in.
Pony up.
Facts. All right. And so, like, I am perfectly fine being Indiana and SMU going in. Now, the difference is when we are in the CFP, I don't want to get embarrassed like they did. That'd be nice. Right?
Yeah, right. Hold your own. Hold your own. Let's try to get some wins, shock the world. Go on a Sam Duggan run. He's like the only TCU player ever. Oh, Max Duggan.
Or Max Duggan. I said Sam Duggan. He's like the only TCU player ever that I'd be okay with bringing into the locker room and being like, hey, inspire the boys.
That's right.
Yeah.
That guy had an unattainable amount of grit in those last games. I mean, just unstoppable. He was like, I'm going to make this happen for myself.
Or as the youth say, aura. His aura was off the charts.
He had maximum aura.
Max aura. Wasn't farming it either. Max aura. His authentic aura. He's probably the only TCU person I've ever liked.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, it was actually tough that year, especially after he beat us. I was like, you son of a – I respect you, though.
Man, that kid's grinding. Yeah. See how tired he was at every game. He was working.
Yeah. I was like, I respect you. And I could kind of like Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State last year, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, for me, I was a bit of a Cam hater. I ain't going to lie to you. I was a little bit of a Scatterbo hater. Then he beat out Taj Brooks for first team All Big 12. I was even more of a Scatterbo hater. Then I watched him dang near beat Texas by himself, and I'm like,
damn,
respect.
that's a dog.
Yeah, I was like, sorry for ever doubting you. That's my bad.
I did not recognize your game.
Yeah, yep. I did not recognize your game at all. So that was my bad. So, I always love pods like this, episodes like this, where we're literally talking about everything but like the blowout, because I'm like, what is it about? So, we do, for your listening pleasure, we do need to talk about the games that the game itself. So, once again, Jeremy, this happened last week too, and it's something that as we go into this next Saturday, I need to look inward and really, ensure myself of this thing. I got to make sure that I'm sitting down, ready to watch the Texas Tech Red Raiders right when kickoff happens. Because if for the second week in a row, I turn the TV on and we're up 7-0. I had to go back and watch what happened in the first drive, because I was like, they already scored. I could have swore this game started at 11, and I just turned it on at 11:05, thinking I would still have, it'd be no problem. Game's already 7-0. It's not it. So the guy that I said I wanted to see in this game and turn up a bit, Micah Hudson, right? Got the ball right from the beginning, and then it was the Baron Morton show, all the way in. And Baron, I rewatched that first drive. Baron was in his bag, right? Yeah. And it was also interesting to see the Mac Leftwich script. Right?
Yes.
It's very quick, very fast, and that's part of the reason why. Like in the game, if you didn't watch the game, you're just going by the play-by-play, and you're like, oh, we scored in the first 4 minutes of game time. I feel like it felt like the first 4 minutes of real time. Like I said, I turned the TV on 11:05, so I waited that long. We were already up 7-0. So really quick, that pass to Reggie Virgil. I think I underestimated just how good Reggie Virgil was going to be for this offense. And I still personally believe that C. Doug is going to be a dog for us. I hope to see Michael Hudson get more action, but Reggie Virgil is killing 2 games.
Yeah. He's the guy. He's the guy.
He's the guy. And just like that 7-0. And then before you get a chance to really breathe, Jeremy, it's a 3-and-out. And then a 3-and-out by Texas Tech. When I say out this time for Texas Tech, I mean 3 and touchdown. It was really really easy, because Kent State, like, what the hell was Kent State just kind of was like, here you go. On their fourth down. That was pretty bad. That just kind of gave that layup and allowed Cam Dickey to run it right in. So just like that, Texas Tech up 14-0.
Why stop there? Keep going.
I'll keep going. So, well, the third drive was, so we had a NASCAR start. We got a layup thanks to Kent State. Third drive was very interesting because, this time, all right, we're right all the way back at the 28. We're like, all right, let's take this easy. And Barron's basically like, why? 2 great plays. One to Jacoby Williams, where Jacoby goes crazy and gets 30 yards scamper. And then the next one, pass out to Coy Eakin. White boy Coy is what they call him. 42. Coy is good for at least one of these plays again, a game. All reliable. Him and Barron have insane chemistry because they've both been here for 35 years. So that was kind of insane there. I will say Kent State their defense did seem to pipe up. After being 21 skunk, they're like, hey, we got to show some effort, right? Was able to force Tech into a punt and then force Tech into a field goal, which I think if you're a Kent State D coordinator, got to be feeling good. Arkansas Pine Bluff wasn't able to do this last week, where we scored virtually every time. Got to be feeling good. Got to be feeling like we're on par for something great. But then you also have to understand and look at it and say, man, why can't our offense do anything? Because another 3-and-out, right? At this point, or another 3-and-out led to another touchdown, and at this point, Texas Tech had 4 or 5 scoring possessions before Kent State ever even made a first down. Right. And then finally, when CJ Montez finally gets that first down, really great pass over to Gavin Garcia. Gavin Garcia is such a scamper. And unfortunately, I was about to put out a tweet being like, haha, 5 scores to no first downs. And then, Gavin Garcia gets the 38-yard run. So my bad there. But I appreciate two people. I appreciate Romello Height for immediately being so pissed that we gave up 38 yards that he decided to get a sack. And then I appreciate him again for the very next play, rushing Montez, where Montez hits the ball. I think Height was the one that batted it up. And then Gil Howard, let me tell you something. Man, I appreciate, as a former D lineman, I appreciate Gil Howard. I'll be thinking, that was D lineman, we don't know how to run. All right. Gil Howard hit 19 miles per hour on his interception return. From the 40 to the touchdown, ran a 4.02 40. Boy was moving. All right, 55-yard interception return to the house. Great image showing him like just exuberant joy as he crossed the end zone. And it's at that moment, it's so much fun. First half, we end up getting another fumble where AJ Holmes, and we haven't talked enough about AJ Holmes. AJ Holmes is the guy who transferred from Houston following Shieldwood over here. Came to Tech knowing he likely wasn't going to start. I think that's one thing that's interesting, right? When you transfer, a lot of the times you transfer thinking you're going to get every time in the time to shine. Transfer to Tech knowing I'm probably not starting here with some of the guys they have here. But he's worked his way to get the PT, then getting that fumble recovery here, which led to a field goal and then a touchdown. And Jeremy, it's 40-0 at halftime.
Yeah. 48. 48-0.
Yeah, 48.
Yeah, so dang near a 50 burger at a half a play. Incredible. And something that we had, now there were a couple of, in this game for me, like the focus is on the first half because that's where your ones are. There was a couple of those red zone performances. So there was the field goal that we did at the beginning of the second quarter where it was like, man, you just couldn't get into you're at the 5 essentially, but you just can't get it in, right? And that feels like this feels like a system. Boo! This feels like a system where you should be able to capitalize. If you're on the 5-yard line, you should have the offensive firepower to get in there, but it just didn't work out. Now, why is that? Is it because we were using a limited playbook? Is it just because Kent State had an amazing effort? There's a lot of things you can say, but the reality is that there was a couple of times where we were stuttered when we should have been more. We should have been had a lot more momentum. Those things you can clean up, but there are things to be considerate of, especially if you're watching this. If any of Utah, if Oregon State's watching tape, they're going to watch very little tape. But what they will watch is they'll say, "Okay, Kent State held them to a field goal. Like, what was the recipe there?" And so they'll kind of try to find the kinks in the armor. Overall, tremendous. Again, I love Barron's, moxie coming in. And here's the thing. We said, listen, don't play if you don't need to. And I think Coach McGuire had the perfect response to that, Barron, if he's ready to go, he has got to play this game so that we're ready to play Oregon State, so that we're ready to play Utah. Because we're going to have to be in a groove, blah, blah, blah. And, we know the talk, but it was very true. And him coming in and playing the way he did, I was like, you're right. I don't know anything, Coach. You know what? Let the boy play. Like, let the boy play if he wants to slang it. And so, great first half. You can never be mad when you shut out an opponent and you score nearly 50 points. That's a great half of football.
What was more impressive, the 48-0 half against Kent State or the 47-0 half against Arkansas Pine Bluff?
This one, because Kent State's a FBS school, so a little bit more prestige.
Not just the opponent, but what as far as how Tech played in the game against the opponent.
Oh, I do think that defensively, Kent State had a little bit more. Should have had a little bit more mobility on the offense, but they just never got into any kind of rhythm. And this was the talent level. So not necessarily the school, but the talent level. Like Kent State's going to have, if Kent State and Arkansas Pine Bluff play, give me Kent State, right? Because I think that they're more prepared for opponents like that. They're more prepared to challenge that kind of talent level. And I think we just did a really good job. I think Shieldwood game planned very well to keep their quarterback where we wanted him, to pressure him which direction we wanted to him. Like the defensive line being able to pressure him on left side or right side, really seemingly at will, was by design. And so I think that they did a great job game planning for this. I think our defensive scheme was set us up for success to create turnovers, which was a little bit more. I mean, we had more turnovers in this game than we did the first game. So by that metric, we played better. And I just think that the energy being the same in both games. Like the output was a little bit greater in this one with the ones, right? With the ones.
Yeah. I will say, so, I mean, Kent State only got, 2 first downs in the first half? And both series where they got a first down, we forced a turnover. It's almost like we were so upset to give up the first down, we forced a turnover. And so I do agree with you. I think the only reason I give Kent State the nod as far as this half is because we got defensive turnovers, one of them being a touchdown. To where, I mean, but all in all, I think the one thing I really enjoyed about watching this first half is that it was the same as the Arkansas Pine Bluff game, right? Because it's so easy to say, oh, well, you just played Arkansas Pine Bluff, and now it goes to, oh, well, you just played Kent State, but it was consistent. Like the way we beat up on Arkansas Pine Bluff is the way we beat up on Kent State, even though you could argue that it's a quote unquote better program anyway, just because of the level of which they play. But we beat up on both of them the same way, regardless, right? And so yeah. All in all, I think I agree that it was good to see here. Now, as the twos came in, I think is where you're going to. Twos not as dominant, right? So we're 48-0, kind of the long story short. Texas Tech versus Kent State in the second half was 14-14. Tech scored 2 touchdowns. Kent State scored 2 touchdowns. Tech actually had 2 turnovers themselves in the second half, one being a turnover on downs, and then where Adam Hill got stuffed, and then the other one just being a bad fumble by Adam Hill again. And so 2 turnovers for Texas Tech in the second half, only forced 1 turnover on downs in the third quarter, which honestly, I get it. You're still trying to play for it, but I didn't understand them going for it on 4th and 10 to begin with. That was just a bad coaching decision from Kent State there. And it did lead to a Texas Tech touchdown. But yeah, no, overall, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to say this, but I think an argument could be made that we were potentially outplayed in the second half. Like we didn't play great in the second half with the twos. And I know DeShields did come in the second half. I don't know if all the twos came in for Kent State in the second half. I think certain players still stayed in that were in the first half as well. Like we did still see Gavin Garcia in the second half a bit, even though I do think he came out in the fourth quarter. But, I do think there's some things to clean up when it comes to our second and third units that we didn't necessarily see in Arkansas Pine Bluff. Arkansas Pine Bluff, second and third units continue to dominate to where in this game, with the exception of one series, to where in this game, Kent State was able to hold their own in the second half. But I'd much rather say we got to clean up some stuff with our depth pieces than with our ones.
Absolutely. Like the idea is that, I mean, you keep a team at 0 with your ones, and then when your 2s and 3s come in, it's like, okay, the game kind of relaxes a little bit. But I totally understand the measurement of, this is still just Kent State. And your 2s are players that you would hope would challenge for the starting positions on Kent State. Like these are talented athletes. So you're like, hey,
not even challenge. I would argue. I mean, where we want us to be, your 2 should be still much better than even the starters at Kent State. Right.
And so defensively, especially, I think that our the fumble was the turnover on downs, whatever, but it was the fumble for me that really turned into the fumble is what I think really set Kent State off because they ended up getting it on our side of the field. Right. And so then that for them having that short field, the defense is a little maybe rattled from that. It was just a little bit more right off of them getting the touchdown as well. It's just like, rats, they get a little momentum, we fumble it, then they have the short field, now they get the second touchdown. Outside of that, I don't know, it's disappointing, but when you do frame it like, hey, it was a 14-14 game, that's disappointing. But I also wonder how much, coaching wise, at least offensively, how hard are you really pushing? Because once the fourth quarter started, we were still up 50 something to 55 to 0. I was like, well, we just need to run out the clock.
Well, one thing I will say, I said it's a 14-14 game. That last drive where we drove from our 17-yard line all the way to their 20-yard line, if there was time, we had to very least score a field goal. So that might have been so you do still beat Kent State in the second half there. I will say though, with the exception of that last drive of the game, I think the O-line, well, except for the last two drives. Last two drives, I think they actually played pretty well. And this is when Kent State truly had their backups in. Before then, I think the O-line kind of struggled in the second half. And you know what it made me think of? Thank God for Cody Campbell. Because this is the O-line we probably would have tried it out there if we didn't hit the portal. Right?
That is true.
So it made me think like, woo!
Yikes.
Good thing we got Howard Sampson. And even Zambrano, who played with the twos, Zambrano's been hurt all off season. So this is his kind of a rehab game in a sense.
Yeah.
So yeah. All in all, though, Texas Tech wins 62-14. Like I mentioned, Texas Tech did have two Joey turnovers, I like to call it, because we do consider turnover on downs turnovers in this game. One fumble loss, one turnover on downs. Kent State had 3 turnovers total, a fumble loss, an interception, as well as a turnover on downs themselves. One thing, 7 penalties in this game, so not great there for Texas Tech. Needs to do a little bit better. But one thing I do love to see here, 42 attempts for 230 rushing yards. 5.5 yards per rush. Running game got after it. Adam Hill, though he did have that fumble, did have a good second half overall. White boy running the ball. That's how a white boy does it, right? Tell him so.
That's right.
Doing a really good job. Doing a really good job running it there. Passing, all 3 of them, Morton, Hammond, Griffiths, even though Griffiths did mostly handing off. But still doing a good job there overall. Throwing to the tune of 371 yards in general. Griffiths did have those 2 passes, 2 for 2. He was like, "Hey, I'm leaving here with something." So I respect that.
That's right.
Overall. So as far as individual play, Baron Martin 258 yards, 3 touchdowns. Will Hammond 94 yards and a touchdown. No interceptions overall for the quarterbacks. For the running backs, like I said, Adam Hill actually had such a game to where it's like, hey, you had a fumble, but it's okay. 127 yards overall in the game, really turning up. Jacoby Williams, 9 carries, 54 yards. And actually, so Adam Hill has now had 2 games where he's really played well. I get it, it's against the twos, but he played really well. And it does make me wonder, because Cam Dickey, really good goal line running back.
Yeah.
Sometimes I question him outside the red zone. And it does make me wonder, will we see more Adam Hill touches throughout the season? Because Adam Hill is earning his touches quite a bit. This is 2 games in a row where I'm like, man, he's playing with the twos. Like, I'll say this, right? Whenever you're in high school, sometimes JV kids get to play with varsity. And or maybe they're doing scout team for varsity. And every now and again, even doing scout team, you're like, yeah, most of the JV kids are obviously JV kids. Man, that one receiver is kind of killing us, right? Even though he's just supposed to show a look, he's doing one-handed catches. He's supposed to be he's just a freshman, but he's killing us, right? And then all of a sudden, you're like, hey, JV kid, why don't you just dress out? And then by game 4, you're like, hey, JV kid, get in there at X, right? And so with Adam Hill, he's the depth piece. He's the JV kid. But he is, when he plays and he's on the field and it's just supposed to be the 2s and 3s versus the 2s and 3s, he's popping out. He's the guy that's really just like, I'm looking at it. And honestly, I expect that to be a little bit of Micah Hudson. And I'm not saying Hudson's playing poorly or anything like that. It's just, if you didn't know Micah Hudson was a former 5-star, nothing he's really done in the first 2 games make you think of, oh, yeah, that's the guy. But Adam Hill is playing really well. And it does make me think like, hey, man, maybe some of those Cam Dickey touches where he's kind of just hitting a hole and going for 3 yards. Let's see what Adam Hill can do.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Why not?
If he keeps playing like this, I'm curious to see how he does against the ones.
Yeah, going back to having 3 serviceable running backs after you lost Quentin Joyner preseason. Not a bad place to be, especially if injury does come back to bite, another one of these running backs. So I'm also impressed by him.
A certain podcast made fun of Adam Hill because after Joyner went down, it was look, we're even giving highlights to 2-way players. That tells you how big of an injury Quentin Joyner's is. I was like, oh, it's kind of messed up. He's got a scholarship like the rest. Come on, man.
That's right.
At the time I wasn't even worried about it because I'm like, he ain't even gonna get playing time like that. But he's playing his way into possibly getting it, for sure. And he's a freshman too. He's a freshman too. So he's gonna be here for a little bit. So
he may end up being your number one. You never know.
Who knows? Receiving wise, Corey Eakin, 3 catches, 59 yards. Reggie Virgil, like I said, 2 touchdowns one day, 50 yards. Bryson Jones, 50 yards. You know who else got a big catch?
Terrence Carter.
Your boy, Terrence Carter. 50 yards, down the seam, fast, dragging players, rumbling, stumbling.
Look good.
He looked good. John Carlos Miller also, like the tight ends we got, both of them very athletic, very talented. Interesting to see how that comes about overall. So as we kind of go to the other side of the ball defensively, Ben Roberts, your boy, 6 tackles on the day. AJ Holmes, like I mentioned before, sack, 2 tackles for loss, 4 tackles overall. Good to see there. David Bailey getting himself on the sack board, right? Mm-hmm. Romello Height also getting a sack in this game. So some of the guys that like Height, that's 3 transfers, 3 sacks, all 3 of them by the big money transfers. And Holmes, Height, Bailey, and then of course Gil Howard getting the touchdown. So good to see there overall. Anything else from this game, Jeremy?
Not a thing.
Well, let me ask you this: offensively, who's your offensive player of the game?
Oh, Adam Hill. I don't know. He's the first running back to hit over 100 yards in a game. So we pretty much ran the entire rest of the game, but still, it's like he capitalized on it.
Yeah, I don't always like giving this offensive player of the game to the obvious. Outside of Adam Hill, though, I think the obvious is Baron Morton.
He's on it.
He was on it. He had the injury throughout the week that he had to deal with last week, and he was questionable for this game. A lot of people were saying he shouldn't even play in it, and for him to come out, he didn't even look hurt. To be honest, you could have told me he was dealing with injury this week. So maybe that's the reason why I even let him go, because it's like, well, he's not even 50-50. He's 95. Right?
Yeah.
He didn't even look hurt. I thought he bounced back and responded extremely well. 258 yards, that's 1.5.
Only half. He only played a half. There's people on Heisman lists right now that are playing their full quarters, and it's like, dude, Baron Morton hasn't even played a full game of football yet.
So I kind of hate the guy, but I will say RG3 did put Baron Morton on his early week 2 Heisman list.
Yeah, right behind A&M's, that guy's name. And it's just like,
the quarterback that Micah Hudson punched, allegedly.
That's right. We hope so. Anyways, but yeah, let's get some looks, because Morton is playing 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, not great college, not great, Marcel Reed, and not great opponents, but still, like the efficiency that we've talked about that Morton carries in the quarterback position. I need, more people need to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Defensive player of the game.
Yeah, come on. Gil Howard.
Yeah.
For 1,001 reason.
It's Gil Howard. It's
Gil Howard.
But I do want to give a shout out to AJ Holmes, because AJ Holmes, I thought, is real. To me, AJ Holmes is kind of the Adam Hill of the defense in the sense of, you signed on here knowing you probably weren't going to get a lot of playing time, but you also are the only guy from Houston that came over. Like, sometimes you see these coaches come over and bring a swath of people. Shil Wood was like, y'all all kind of suck except for one. Hey, AJ Holmes, you ever thought about coming over to Texas Tech? Like, Shil wouldn't try to bring nobody else over. He was like, listen, we only the top can come over here. But AJ Holmes was the one. He was like, but you qualify. Come on over. And he's showing it. He's absolutely showing it.
Right.
So Texas Tech, 62-14, demolishing of Kent State. We do open up as a 21-point favorite against Oregon State. So pretty wide margin. I will say, though, it's not enough. I saw Oregon State play right after we played. Buddy.
Yeah.
Buddy. That is not a good team.
No.
That is not a good team. They're 0-2 as they come into the season. And it's also like, you may be saying, well, I'll be like, dude, they probably played really good teams to be 0-2. Like, I'm sure that other teams like Texas Tech said, hey, Oregon State, we want to play you. You don't have a big schedule right now. We want to make sure that we have, and we want to make sure that we have like, we got to schedule you, right? You might be thinking that. These are the two teams they lost to. They got whooped by 19 points to Cal. Not Southern Cal. Not just even Cal Los Angeles. Just Cal. Losing 34-15. And then the game I was watching was Fresno State. Where they were in a dog fight with the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs won. And no, this is not a Fresno State team that's going to surprise you. No, this Fresno State team is also, they just got whooped by Kansas 31-7 to start the season. So yeah, this Oregon State team is not good. Like they're not going to surprise. It's not going to be like Washington State last year, to where we're surprised at how good Washington State actually is, and they end up having a really good season at the rest of the year. No, this team is not very good. Oregon State is about to go through a 2-game stretch where they play the two best teams on their schedule in Texas Tech and Oregon, and they're going to lose both of them. And the rest of the season, maybe they have a few cupcakes. I mean, they have Houston, they have Wake Forest, they play Washington State twice, which is funny. But all in all, bad team. So, Jeremy, speaking of bad teams, you want to talk about the rest of the Big 12 this week?
Let's do it.
So let me say this, guys. I know we like to puff our chests out of the Big 12 and say that, hey, top to bottom, the Big 12 is much better than the ACC. And we deserve to give us our respect and our flowers. We talked about how this year the best way the Big 12 can do that is by beating teams and these other conferences to really show how good the Big 12 is. Let me tell you something, guys. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. All the Big 12 teams have done this year so far is proven the haters right. They have proven the haters right. Because let me tell you, if I wasn't a fan of Big 12 football and I thought this conference was buns, the last 2 weeks ain't helping at all. So I'm going to start off with the fact that Oklahoma State lost to Oregon 69-3.
Yeah.
Yes, Oklahoma State is probably the worst team in the Big 12, or at least one of the worst teams in the Big 12. Yes, Oregon is a national title contender. Yes, they're a Big 12 title contender. Yes, that they're all that in a bag of chips. However, you absolutely cannot lose to another Power 4 conference team by 66 points. You can't do it. You can't do it. I don't care if it's Alabama. I don't care if it was Cliff Kingsbury, Texas Tech team playing Alabama during the Nick Saban era. You cannot lose to that team by 66 points. You cannot give up 28 points in the third quarter. Can't do it. Oklahoma State, that is like that.
Has Mike Gundy checked out? Is he done? I think he's just done. Doesn't matter, though. You can't lose.
Even when we lost to Oklahoma State, we at least lost by 60. 66-6. He's got a touchdown in there,
Yeah.
Shout out to Cornelius Douglas, corn dog. Got a little something, but it just, oh my God, man, that was bad. So they lose 69-3, and if that wasn't bad enough, Arizona State, which a lot of people, you and I both have talked about how we think they're frauds. We actually do not believe in Arizona State. However, a lot of national media and a lot of Big 12 fans do. They are the highest. They were, anyways, the highest ranked Big 12 team. They were ranked 12 in the nation. There were a lot of people's picks to win the conference. Though we didn't have a preseason poll, they would have won the preseason poll if it did come out. And they're playing Mississippi State, which most people view as one of the worst, if not the worst team in the SEC. This is a game that some people looked at as like a trap game or what have you, but it was a game that we both talked about in the preview pod that Arizona State, for the Big 12, you got to win this game. They lost. They lost the game, and not only did they lose, they lost a game that they got flat out played in the first quarter. They worked their way back. From the second quarter on, looked like the much better team and still found a way to lose at the end. A really bad loss for Dillingham. Like really, it's not a good loss for anybody involved. Sam Levitt is looking like the quarterback that the hater said he was. So not good. Not good in general. Then we go to the border war. Kansas, I was about to start believing in you. I was about to start believing in you. You beat the hell out of Fresno State. You beat the hell out of Wagner. You look good in both of these games. You're about to play Missouri. And the thought is that the translation from beating bad teams will translate to when you actually have to play a team worth a damn. And a rival worth a damn. Now, I get it. This is an SEC team. This is a team that you have a lot of history with. Big rivalry game, and you're on the road. Right? I also get that last year Missouri was actually pretty good. Right? They went 10-3 last year. Like this is not Mississippi State. This is actually a Missouri team, and they're not truly going to contend for the SEC, but they're going to actually show out, win some games, probably pull off a pretty big upset. I don't know if winning against Alabama is an upset anymore, but I'm looking at that at Oklahoma game later in the season. I could see Missouri definitely winning that one. I see they have South Carolina, Lenora Sellers coming up here in a couple weeks. That's going to be a good one. So it's not a bad team by any stretch. But Kansas, this is for the Big 12. You got to show up, and they just flat out didn't. Right? Again, they actually pulled a Mississippi State, and they jumped on Missouri early, and I was like, yeah, Big 12, rock chalk KU, let's get it. Up 21-6 at the end of the first, and then you blink, and it's 21-21. Okay, well, that was quick. And then you blink again, they're losing, and they never get it back. And so they lose to Missouri 42-31. But guess what, guys? That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Those are the teams that just lost to the Power 4 opponents. Let's talk about the team that lost the conference's quote-unquote lesser than. So Kansas State plays Army. Now, last year, Army was very good. They went to the American Championship game. They were a very good program. And I was even talking about the preview pod how, like, K-State, got to watch out for Army, right? You were talking about it, the military schools, the whole triple option. You all know. But also, this is an Army team that lost to Tarleton State a week ago.
Yeah.
Can't lose a team that lost to Tarleton State, unless you're the Kansas State Wildcats. A really embarrassing performance there as they lose 24-21. But that's not it, Jeremy. That's not it. West Virginia, welcome home, Rich Rod. Welcome home. Not only are you down 17-7 at halftime, right? Where I'm looking at that, I'm like, all right, pretty bad first half, but West Virginia should be able to come forward in the second half. They scored 3 points in the second half, Jeremy. They lose 17-10. Just flat out wrong. So that is a grand total of 5 losses against other opponents, Jeremy. Really bad amongst the Big 12 this week overall. I mean, is there anything you can say to these bad losses?
The Kansas State one, yeah, buddy. Avery Johnson's not who we thought he was. No. The Kansas one was actually the most disappointing for me because I feel like Kansas really showed who they were in that first quarter. But Missouri snapping back the way they did, I think kind of shifted up their defense and really put Jalen Daniels in a blender in terms of like reading the defense. And I just feel like he couldn't adjust. And there was a moment actually in the fourth quarter where I believe Missouri scored and then Kansas got the ball back, or Missouri had gotten a field goal to get ahead of Kansas had the field goal. Missouri got the touchdown. Yeah. And then Kansas like, hey, we can just get right back in it. And then they end up throwing an interception. I'm like, dude, you slow down. And then Missouri capitalized, got a touchdown. It was all over. I was like, dude, I feel like Kansas was in it there at the end. It feels like they had it. The game that I was not confident in was Arizona State. Whenever Mississippi State started off strong, I was like, oh, dude, we're cooked. Like Arizona State's not who we thought they were. And then Dillingham was just playing catch up the rest of the game. Thankfully, Mississippi State was kind of garbage. So they were able to get a little bit close. But again, at the end, Arizona State also just not capitalizing in turnover. And it's just like, well, there's the game. And it's just like, man, we're just like this close to looking pretty decent as a conference outside of course, Oregon State. Nobody else to talk about. Kansas State, please stop scheduling service schools. Oh, well, West Virginia, I don't know what to do with you anymore. But it's just like, some of these games felt like a little bit better game planning would have. You weren't outclassed or you weren't out talented. You were just outclassed and outcoached. It was just sucked.
I will say, Army and Missouri just gave the blueprint.
They did.
They gave the blueprint.
What?
They were like, "Oh, if you want." I mean, stopping Avery Johnson obviously doesn't seem to be as difficult as we thought it might have been. But stopping Jalen Daniels, Missouri just gave the blueprint. They're just like, "Hey, if you want to stop Jalen Daniels, this is what you got to do." It's simple.
Yep.
So I think every coach from here on out is going to just play Missouri tape. So what Jalen Daniels is going to need to do is do the same and figure out how they were able to confuse him, how they were able to stop him and challenge him, and understand that, hey, man, from the second quarter on, I only scored 10 points. What do I got to do different? Or else it's going to be a long season for him. It wasn't all bad, Jeremy. It was not all bad. BYU, 27-3 against Stanford, which, I mean, Stanford, whew, buddy. 0-12, here we come. But still, BYU looking good without Jake Retzlaff, freshman quarterback in there. This is the team that, if it wasn't for the whole Retzlaff situation, would have been viewed as a favorite in the Big 12. I know they haven't really played anybody worth anything yet, but 69-0 against Portland State, 27-3 against Stanford. You know, if the only reason we're not considering them a contender is lack of faith in the quarterback, if their quarterback's playing well like he has the last two games, maybe we should start putting faith in the Cougs again. Speaking of good quarterback play, Connor Wegman, right? The Bayou Bucket. They beat Baylor 35-9. I don't know if we should feel worried, or as detractors, I don't know if we should feel worried about how they played here late in the game as them being good, or look at them and say, y'all were up 7-3 against Rice at halftime. Look at them being like still same old Houston in that game. Right? Wegman looked good, but still threw for less than 200 yards. They still struggled through the game, so don't know what to make of that game for U of H, but still a win in a rivalry game. Utah beat the hell out of Cal Poly, and that's the reason why they're now ranked 20th, because when Utah beats up on a bad team, it's a good thing. Texas Tech beats up on a bad team, it's a bad thing. You got to understand that. We fall in the polls when we do it, but when they do it, it's okay. Overall, so good showing there. UCF beating up on North Carolina A&T 68-7. Always good when you do what you're supposed to do. Arizona, same thing, beating up on Weber State 48-3. Always going to do what you're supposed to do. Colorado beating Delaware 31-7. Again, similar to the U of H thing, right? You did what you were supposed to do. I don't know whether that you look good in but you're only up 17-7 at halftime. You only scored 2 more touchdowns in the second half. I don't know what to make of you just yet. So there's that. Cincinnati barely beating Bowling Green. A good win here, but Jeremy, surprisingly, they looked better in a loss against Nebraska than they did in a win against Bowling Green.
I think Cincinnati's having some like mid 2010s Texas Tech where we're playing up to the good teams, and with the bad teams we're playing down, right? Yeah, it's a tough place to be for a program.
Not great. So we mentioned how there were 5 bad showings from the Big 12. A lot more. Everything else was kind of you either did what you're supposed to do or kind of mediocre. But there were 2 positives. 2 positives. Starting out with Iowa State winning the Cyhawk over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Anytime you watch Iowa State play Iowa, you know it's going to be the ugliest game of football you've ever seen. If somebody comes and says, hey, why do you like football so much? Please never show them the Iowa State-Iowa game, because they will instantly be turned off. And it's not even one of those situations where you might say, like, oh, Albie, you just hate good defense. No, I love good defense. This is bad football. It's bad offense.
It's just bad football.
It's always bad football, like, consistently. But, the corn-fed brethren, they love it. So Iowa State pulling through at the end. Rocco Becht has a little bit of – he's not going to look good when he quarterbacks, but he does just enough. Just enough. I like Rocco Becht. I appreciate it. He does just enough. We've seen him now 2 games where he does just enough to win. He just enough to beat K-State, just enough to beat Iowa. Rocco Becht. And then a game in which Baylor looked done. Game of the week. A game where Baylor looked absolutely done. In the waters. I saw Baylor fans already saying, it's time. It's time for Aranda to get up on out of here. Baylor people that I trust and are smart people. So it's not even like just the hyperactive people. People that were smart, are smart people, friends of the pod were like, it's time. And then Dave Aranda was like, plotting on my downfall, huh? We'll see about that. Big comeback from the Bears, beating SMU in double overtime. Unfortunately, what I wanted to have happen did not happen, which was a meteor just crashing into the stadium. That didn't happen, unfortunately. But overall, good comeback here by the Baylor Bears to win the game and beat SMU. It was technically a road game, but is it ever really a road game when you play SMU? No matter where you're coming from. Right. So, but Baylor wins 48-45, and truly at the very least, putting the Big 12, because not only did they win, they were the only underdog victory of the week.
That's right. Thank God for Sawyer Robertson and a little bit of extra time after the game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Baylor bouncing back from a disappointing loss against Auburn at home. And we said, SMU, like, quality opponent now. Like, it's got a lot more talent than they used to have. And coming around, they're believing in themselves, right? So, it's always good to take down a top 25 team, even better whenever you have a pretty crappy showing against an SEC team the week before. And so Baylor really kind of pulling it together, and that first quarter was absolute buns. Yeah. And so getting into that second quarter, I don't know if it was Matt or somebody is just posting these absolutely funny memes of like a progressive a picture of a guy like shooting himself in the wiener with just something bigger and bigger, a bigger gun, nearly every play. Yeah. But by the second quarter, getting it figured out. Sawyer Robertson, again, just that's a guy you got to watch out for. Like, if he definitely needs to be in a Heisman conversation at this point in the season. I think he's doing a lot with a team that is he's kind of Max Dugganing it right now, where it's like the rest of the team, you kind of got to figure it out a little bit. Like, where is Baylor's running game? Like, I thought Baylor's running game was going to be one of the better ones in the Big 12 this season. This is not the case. And so, yeah, but a great showing by Baylor. And you know what? Any day you get to beat SMU, you trash. Got it? You trash.
So it's interesting because coming into the season before the summer, quarterback-wise, people were talking about Jake Retzlaff, who's now gone. We're talking about Jalen Daniels. Brendan Sorsby was getting some love from Cincinnati. Sam Levitt, obviously, was getting all the love. But what we're seeing so far 2 weeks into the season is Baron Morton. We're seeing Rocco Becht. We're seeing Devin Dampier from Utah, and then we're seeing Sawyer Robertson being really the four quarterbacks that are just going crazy. And so we'll see if that continues overall. Before we get up out of here, another thing we're going to see continues is a new segment that I like to call the Contenders Lounge. So, Jeremy, whenever we did the season preview, we talked about how there were really 5 contenders coming into the season. We said that, the favorite was Arizona State, even though you and I didn't necessarily believe in them. I think we had picked Kansas State to go to Arlington. We both had Kansas State to go to Arlington, so we might be wrong about that one. But we had it Arizona State, Kansas State, Iowa State, Baylor, and Texas Tech as the 5 contenders for the Big 12 to start the season. All right. Last week, we added Utah to that list. And we said that, all right, Utah is in the list. Kansas State, we're going to keep you there, but, you're on thinner ice than before. Is there any changes we want to make to the lounge? Anybody else gets put in the lounge or taken out of the lounge as you see fit as we go 2 weeks in?
It's kind of that weird spot where has anybody really, are of those people outside of the lounge, have they really played anybody yet to justify that? But I'm kind of getting a little high on Arizona. Noah Fafita has been having some really good games. I think he's starting to be the quarterback that they all wanted him to be last year, right? But there were just certain pieces of that team that needed a little bit more work. So Arizona's kind of surprised me so far with being 2-0 and winning the way that they have won. I think there's a little bit of belief happening out there in the desert. And it would be a very good day in Tucson if Arizona gets elevated and Arizona State turns out to be a dud. So I think people need to start paying more attention to Arizona. They got some good games coming up.
So
contender adjacent.
So you're basically putting them not necessarily in the lounge, but you're like, hey, just be on standby.
Yeah, they're my first in the door right now.
First in the door, wow. So I will say, so Arizona State come forward. The bouncer wants to talk to you. You're on thinner ice. All right. Baylor was a team that after their loss to Auburn, I was like, hey, Baylor, you know what? You get to go back, sit on the couch. You're good. We don't have to have a conversation with you. Baylor, you can sit on the couch. You get to stay in the Contenders Lounge. Arizona State, come over here. All right, listen, I didn't like you when you walked in here. But you know what? Loss to Mississippi State was bad. We're going to keep you right here by the door. All right? You get to party a little bit, but you got to get off the couch. We can't have you on the couch in the Contenders Lounge. We got to get you off the couch. Utah, get comfy. You look good. You look good in this. You look good in your red. All right? You look good. Kansas State, come over here. Get your ass out. Leave my establishment. Leave, and until Avery Johnson learns how to throw a football, don't come back. All right? I'm kicking Kansas State out of the lounge. They got to go. I'm tired of what I'm seeing, right? They have looked in 3 games. They have not looked good in a single game that they have played so far, right? I don't like it. Their only win is beating North Dakota by 3. They're out. They're out of the lounge. I cannot stand by and allow this to continue to happen. They're out of the lounge. Kansas, I thought about you. I'm not going to put you to the back of the line just yet, but you're not looking good. You're not looking good. Your comment about Arizona is an interesting one. I'm not as high on Arizona as you are, but I am going to put another team right beside where you have Arizona. I'm going to put another team to stand beside them. Hey, BYU, we were cool last year, so come on just stay on standby. Because like I said before, I know you played 2 really bad teams in Stanford and Portland State. So, I think the same thing goes for Arizona. We don't really know how good you are yet. But Bachmeier hadn't looked bad. And the only problem with BYU – oh, Lord Jesus. If the only problem with BYU is that we don't trust their quarterback anymore, and now we're starting to trust their quarterback a little bit more, maybe they are a good team. So the Contenders Lounge goes back to 5. So that 5 being Arizona State, Baylor, Texas Tech, Utah, and Iowa State, right? We're going to keep BYU and Arizona on standby, and the rest of y'all just stay in line.
Arizona. So Kansas State's coming out of the lounge, and Arizona's got them next week. So if Arizona just whips up on Kansas State,
I
saw what you done to them.
Yeah, we can. Arizona, if you want to get in the lounge, you got your chance. Your chance is right in front of you.
You're right there, just clocking.
Your chance is right there. BYU, you're on standby, but you got East Carolina next. You got Colorado after that. It may be a little bit before we actually let you in.
Yeah, gotta see some.
Yeah, you gotta see a little bit more. But Arizona, you can have a shot. You have a shot. Like they say in Hamilton, you can't throw away your shot to get in the
That's
line.
right.
Because right now on the couch, Texas Tech's looking comfy on the couch. Utah's looking comfy on the couch. They're gonna battle it out here in 2 weeks, and we'll see. We'll see. They may not get kicked out of the lounge for how they play, but they may have to get off the couch. All right now, Texas Tech and Utah and Iowa State, big chilling on the couch. Big chilling. All right. Speaking of that game, Texas Tech, Utah, for the many people that viewed the tweet and liked the tweet and argued about the tweet, we're no longer going to Utah game because it is a 10 a.m. local time kickoff. We were never going to be able to fly in on Fridays, and we were hoping bare minimum that there's no way they're going to do a 10 a.m. game. But, yeah, they ended up doing so. Reports are that it's because Big Noon Kickoff is showing up. And Fox, I think sometimes they're sometimes scared to truly schedule it 2 weeks in advance because you never know, right? You never know what may happen. I think Fox is looking at it and saying, Utah plays Wyoming and Texas Tech plays Oregon State. I think we're good. I think we made a safe bet here. I will say this. I think the bare minimum, both teams ain't losing. All right, even if you think that one of the teams might, both teams ain't losing. So it's still going to be a good showing. So most likely, it seems like Big Noon Kickoff will be in Salt Lake City to watch Texas Tech and Utah, which is why we're pegged for that 10 a.m. start time. But sucks for us. We're going to pivot. Shout out to Ross from Friends. We're going to pivot and go to NYC, baby. NYC to watch.
NYC.
We haven't had one of these trips for basketball. You know, I feel like as a
We
basketball
haven't.
school that we are, we need to do this trip for
It's
basketball.
overdue.
It's overdue. Jeremy has never been to Madison Square Garden. I did watch Tech play Tennessee in Madison Square Garden a couple years ago in the worst basketball game ever played. If you were there, you know the worst basketball game ever. Like as bad as you might have thought it was on TV, it was so much worse in person. You know how bad a basketball game has to be to where the opposing fans are just like anybody make a shot. Like we don't even like Tennessee fans weren't even mad at losing. They were just like, we're just glad it's over.
Oh my God! Like nobody wants to win the game.
Yeah, we're just like, guys, how much time we have left? Please end this game. So it'll be good. And for those that don't know, I actually grew up a Duke basketball fan, huge Duke basketball fan. I still like I still like Duke when Texas Tech's not playing. I will admit, but as I have, as Tech basketball continues to be great, my Duke love has definitely decreased immensely. I couldn't even tell you who was on the team last year. Kneppel, I think was on the team.
I'm not verifying anything. Yeah.
Like so, I just but I was a huge Duke basketball fan previously, so it'll be cool to see my two favorite teams go up against each other. If you're questioning my allegiances, you shouldn't. It's all a Rackham baby. But now, if we were back to where we were in 2011, it'd be like a Rackham.
Rackham.
But yeah, but 2025, I'm full on course. Jeremy, anything else you want to say to the people?
One more week of fun, and then we really start to buckle down.
That's right.
It's all fun, but yeah.
That's right.
I can't say that. Yeah. Let's get the next opponent's mascot.
Now I kind of want to know where you're going. Is this a post-pod combo?
Yeah, I just wouldn't say. It's nothing bad, but it is bad, so I'm not going to say it. Let's go get Oregon State. Right? Let's go get the Oregon State mascot. Good for us.
Okay. All right. Okay. I know where you're going here. All right. Well, for the okay. We gotta find a way to make PG jokes in the next episode that's coming out later this week. Before the people chant, that is Jeremy Gillen. This is your boy Albie Shore, and you've been listening to the Tortillas and Take podcast, part of the 1012 network. As always, stay wrecked, people. Don't munch.